Saturday, September 22nd, 2018, Monaco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. Before I start today, I'd like to thank all the subscribers, be they old subscribers or new subscribers, for their interest in the channel, for their contributions in terms of comments and participation in live streams, contribution as donations, as buying the merchandise in the Monaco 64 store. And if you haven't done so yet and you'd like to donate as little as $1 a month on Patreon or through PayPal, there's links below in the description. So this morning, I want to talk about fiat money and how it swims totally against the tide of history for the last 5,000 years, and especially for the last 2,000 years. I'm going to show you a timeline to give you an idea how totally an anomaly it is, and how the trend going forward is for more and more, how can I say, debasement of the dollar, which is the leading fiat currency these days. Before I go through all that, though, excuse me, I want to talk about what fiat currency is. Well, fiat currency is basically money that's forced upon the market or the public through government regulation, through legal tender laws. The other thing about it's not a market money like decided by trial and error through transactions in a free market. That started basically with barter, and then they, participants found out that there was some commodities that were most marketable than others, and that facilitated indirect exchange. So the system we have now, where we think, and a lot of people think that these are money, right? We've got the US dollar or the Federal Reserve note, and it says this note is legal tender for all debts, public and private. So Congress made this note legal tender, right? So that's the fiat money. Euro banknote, 500 euro banknote here. This thing doesn't even say anything about it being a note. It just says 500 euros. So this is a complete, at least I guess they're not promising anything by being a promissory note. And then you have the Bank of England note, which says I promise to pay the bearer on demand the sum of £10. And it's basically £10 of more £10. If you call the Bank of England, they'll say, well, if you bring this note to us, we'll give you a new one. That's what that promise means. Of course, we know that prior to World War I, you could take that note to the Bank of England or any other bank, and they'll give you, they pay you in specie or gold coin or sovereigns, gold coins. But nowadays, everyone thinks that this is money when it's actually a debt, a promise. And what's the difference then? Why is it such a bad system? Compared to sound money, to commodity money like gold and silver. Well, with gold and silver, if you pay someone with a coin, or a gold coin, or a silver coin, if you pay them, you've extinguished the debt. It's extinguished debt. With fiat money, dollar bill or a pound note, you may extinguish the debt between you and another counterparty, but the government debt that's used to pay, this fiat money, is still not extinguished. It will never be extinguished unless the government basically, well, the government actually can't pay off that debt. The only way for them to pay that off in the fiat money is to issue even more. So you get the gist. It's a system that basically cannot self-liquidate. And that's why, if you wonder why the national debt is getting bigger, not only in the US, but everywhere else in the world. And that's why. So under sound money, free market, gold or silver, it could be something else that is a system where when you pay someone, it's extinguished, the debt is extinguished completely in the system. That is a system that's sustainable. And the other thing about systems, monetary systems, is that you need credit. You need to be, how can I say, credible, and that's where the word, of course, credibility or credit comes from. And fiat money systems, they might start with some credibility in the beginning because they've come from, a system that was gold backed. In 1971, when the U.S. went off Bretton Woods gold exchange standard, the dollar is still thought as being as good as gold. So that's why they were able to do it. So now I want to show you this timeline because it's quite amazing. I know that a lot of you know that the fiat money system as the major reserve currency, as the dollar is today, has been around for very, very small time. But if I showed this timeline going back, the Persians, Mycenaeans, the Roman Empire, the Byzantine or Byzantine Empire, the Holy Roman Empire, the Ottoman Empire, the Manchu Empire, the British Empire, Russian Empire. And then you come to 1950 there towards the end of this chart. And you notice, that you don't even see, it's hard to see 1971, but it's a sliver of this timeline. And this has been the only time in the history of the last 5,000 or at least 2,000 years. I mean, the Egyptians did use gold, but let's just go back to Roman times and Persians and even the Greeks, 2,000 years. We've never had a major international currency that's just been a piece of paper or a promise. It's always been gold and silver. So I know it's difficult to predict when this fiat money system is going to be superseded by the norm, which is sound money throughout the ages. But you can definitely see that the trend is not good. And especially for younger people, the trend is only going to get worse. And I'll show you what I mean by that. Before I show you, how the dollar and other currencies in the past have declined, I want to show you the historical timeline as well of dominant international currency. So pretty much the last 2,000 years, there you can see that 20th century United States dollar, and you could argue it's been. Some people will argue it was until 1933. Some will say 1971, but it's international currency. So I would say 1971. Up until 1971, it was just gold, gold, silver, silver, gold, gold. Started out with the Aureus in Rome, the Solidus in the Byzantium Empire, which I want to touch upon. That empire, the Byzantium, the Solidus was the dominant international currency for 8 centuries, so over 700 years. And and then you had the Italian city-states using the Fiorino or the Ducat between the 13th and 15th century. The Netherlands with their golden silver coin, then the Spanish dollar, 18th and 19th century, and the British pound with the gold, sterling, the sovereign. And you can see these haven't really lasted that long, even though the Solidus is the one that lasted that long. So is it really realistic to think that the dollar, which let's give it the benefit of the doubt, has been half the time it's been reserve currency, it's been backed by gold. It has been the gold, and then half the time it's been just over around half the time has been paper. Do you really think that's going to survive? I don't think so. So the solidas. So these people here actually say the solidas, the dollar of the Middle Ages. And I'll read a little bit about the solidas. It says it was the symbol of imperial power of Byzantium, popular and willingly accepted everywhere in the then known world. It was admired and copied by many kings and many kingdoms. There was no coin that could be compared to it. The Byzantine solidas. For more than 700 years, struck in the same weight and fineness, the solidas was the principal trade coin from Europe throughout Asia, the dollar of the Middle Ages. I would say that's a bad comparison because I don't think the dollar is going to last 700 years, especially as a fiat currency. But even the solidas, I found this here from core.ac.uk. Even some of the coins during the Byzantine rule, because I think there were different issues. You can see that they were also debased. They weren't totally fine. And you can see by the timeline that it corresponded with the decline of the Byzantine Empire. The Byzantine Empire was interesting because it started out as just a division of the Roman Empire for administrative purpose, I think in 300 AD. And then when the Western Roman Empire fell around 460 AD, the Eastern Roman Empire, or Byzantine Empire, kept going for quite a while. It fell, I think it was the fall of Constantinople in 1453, if I'm not mistaken. That was the end of the Byzantine Empire. And you can see that with time, it got smaller. And you can see as well that after the, I would say 13th century, when the solidas lost a lot of its gold content, how the empire basically shrunk and then collapsed. So that's how important having a sound international currency is for empires. And I would argue that, of course, the dollar is, the US is more of a financial empire, but I think its influence is, not surprisingly, as the dollar goes down in value or purchasing power, the influence of the American empire will decrease. So here we go. We've got purchasing power of the US dollar from 1913, when the central bank, Federal Reserve, was created, till now, or to 2013. It's probably a bit lower now, but you can see that it's been basically a downhill course, and it's been in stages. You've got 1933, when FDR's executive order makes it illegal to hold gold coin, bullion, or certificates. So he takes the U.S. domestic economy off a gold standard. And then in 1971, he takes the whole the international payment system off the gold standard. And then that's so how long will we survive this? I think we're near the end. Can't predict exactly when, but it just goes to show again that it's not. It is. We are swimming against the tide, the fiat money system, and that's why it's important for people to protect themselves, especially if they have a lot of savings in fiat dollars in the bank. They need to, depending on what they're comfortable with, and I'm just talking about my personal experience. I would much rather have these and these than the paper money that you can clearly see is continuing to lose value over the last 100 years. We have an irredeemable fiat money system, and that's the most important thing to realize, that We cannot pay off the national debt in any country in the West or in the world for that matter. Cannot be paid off unless the system is completely reset, as people call, or destroyed. So to conclude, as you can see, fiat money system as a major international currency is, in my opinion, a very foolish experiment. It goes against the whole tide of history of the last few thousand years. And are we really that much clever than our ancestors and our predecessors who ran empires or civilizations for hundreds or thousands of years? I don't think so. Human nature never changes. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share it, subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet, and if you do, make sure you click on the little bell to get notified of my new videos. You can also follow me on Steemit, DTube, BitTube, and Twitter. I'll talk to you later. Take care. Bye.